The next panel is presented by Vadim Borisson, so I'm the Managing Director, and please welcome to the stage with a big applause, of course.
Happy to be here in front of this wonderful audience. Are you still with us? Yeah. Perfect, perfect. So we have the last discussion for today, and not least, of course. And the topic is indeed very interesting. It's performance marketing, and we all are living in the result culture. Our CEOs demand results, clients demand results, and marketing is no exception. And emerging the digital channels and digital marketing, digital media, and the measurement worked the way up in our agenda, in marketing agenda. So that's why the topic is here on the stage. Because it's actually became very easy to measure if the campaign is successful or it's a failure, or isn't it? And performance marketing is actually just for those ones who maybe struggle to understand what it is fully. Actually, when we started to name our agency a performance agency, it was always like, yeah, we are a performance agency, and it was like, okay, now I explain. So that's why the performance marketing, basically, it's primarily digital advertising, which refers to the payment that this advertiser is paying for a certain action, a sales or a click or acquisition. But first things first, and I'm glad to have a really experienced people with me on the stage to discuss this topic. So, Henry Daum, a marketing manager for Nissan Nordic Europe. What is interesting that Nissan is the client for whom a creative agency and OMD created a special entity to serve uniquely precision marketing, performance marketing. Arnis Ozols, CEO of HTT Pool Baltics, helping us with Twitter, LinkedIn, and now Facebook. Gediminas Blažis, the AdNet Media CEO, who is in the middle of helping advertisers to reach results and also thinking about user experience from the publisher side. And Paulius Grižanas, Senior Sales Manager of Baltic's Adform. And Paulius has a vast experience in programmatic global strategies. And so, guys, I just want to start with a very simple question. What is performance marketing for you personally in your daily job?
All right, who's gonna kick this off? All right. So performance marketing is essentially, it's always in the eye of the beholder. So what performance marketing for me is, it's a bit different for my colleagues over here, and at the same time, is different for every single client. Because if we look at e-commerce, they have one type of performance. They measure it in one way. And then when we have, say, Coca-Cola as an example, so how do you measure, how does Coca-Cola measure performance? So it's really dependent on who's doing it and how are they doing it.
Hi. So I would say that some people would say that performance marketing is solely based on pure numbers. I think this is the most boring way of defining what is performance marketing, because I would say that this term is not a set point, it is a scale. And on one side, performance marketing is purely based on numbers, but this is a very short-sighted point of view. And then on the other side, there is brand marketing. And when you combine pure number performance marketing and brand marketing, somewhere in the middle, in the balance, this is the way where you want to go, where you want to achieve performance in short term and in long term. Yeah.
Maybe I can ask a question. Does the audience understand what is performance marketing? Who understands the concept?
Not many.
Hands up. I think this is a very relevant question because working in an industry already for almost 20 years, just 5 years ago I discovered what the performance marketing is. And what is really funny, I think that all marketing should be about performance. And there shouldn't be a straight line that divides performance marketing and the brand marketing. Because I think that brands have done already for I don't know, like hundreds of years, they done advertising where they wanted to receive a result. Isn't it so? So I think that, you know, like the performance marketing, it doesn't exist on some kind of separate universe with the branding, yes? And it's the same as like digital marketing. It's not like a separate island within the total general marketing. So I think that what is the beauty currently is that we live in an age when finally we can measure the result in a digital, see the result, and act on it and interact with the customers. So I think there is shouldn't be really a distinction. What maybe from my understanding, if I can explain to the audience how I understand the performance marketing, it is normally it's a concept where you align your marketing activities with business outcomes. So what you have to measure is actually a business outcome, whether it is, for some cases, brand awareness, yeah, it is brand lift that you maybe, you know, trying to achieve. Then this is audience that you want to reach with specific target groups, yes. And the third one, it is the sales outcome. So I think that the performance marketing in general, it is all the marketing activities that just lead to the result, measurable result, from my perspective.
For me, performance marketing, I would like that kind of idea that it is a commission what we need to pay for sales. That I will email to Vadims our this month sales target and perhaps some additional task, and I would know immediately how much it would cost. But I'm coming from corporate world and I have been in that company quite many years. Usually it was how big budget was dedicated for me, from my manager, from board, etc. And then we went to media agents and said, hey guys, we have now 50,000, make me a plan what I can have it for it. As performance marketing, I would like to more understanding how much we need, what is actual business task, how much money I need to put to individual model, market, and etc. to play around markets and play with the budget. Not stick that I have 50K, let's do best game with that money, but rather how much we need to achieve the goals. And right now we are trying to look as deeply as possible closer to the sale. Car purchase is, I guess, second largest purchase for normal people after the house. So to the e-commerce or selling cars online and measuring actual sales, we will have very long way to go. But what we can measure there, we can measure their hot leads, test drives, how many people have played around with our car builder, download the brochures, as close down to the contacts, to the potential lead as possible. And I would like to know beforehand, how much for me 50 test drives would cost, how much money I need to put on the table. Because right now I have also quite often dispute with media agencies when I'm looking the result after the campaign. Quite often I'm getting from project manager the, look, we did great job, we delivered 50% what we estimated or promised. At least in my company I have got used to with the sales forecast. You need to be accurate. You cannot under-deliver, you cannot over-deliver. One way over-deliver or much better results than promised is very good, but probably we made wrong decision in beginning. We should have put more money to some channels, to some ideas, all that to optimize and to know what's the roof, how much you can put to somewhere. So for me, the performance marketing would be to have really the measurable things and to know what to do beforehand, not measuring afterwards how we did it.
Okay, great. Just elaborating on this measurement and performance thing, what would be your top 3 suggestions to any brand, any company, with what to start? What the hygiene factors for performance marketing?
I want to take this one. Whenever I go to clients and whenever we go over their campaigns, their clients' campaigns, whenever we do like co-managed campaigns. I could even like narrow it down to one. Like, why did you start this? What is your reason for doing marketing as a whole? So usually, like, what's going to be the answer? Like, depending obviously on the business, say, I want to make more money. Like, that's the sole reason. So how do we transfer your initial idea from I want to make more money to what sort of campaigns do we allocate? What sort of strategies do we take? What approach do we take? Do we separate performance from awareness? Do we not do that? Is your product separate from that or not? And then at the end of the day, we look at a single value, which is money generated. What's the revenue? How much did we gain from this? So that is the main point that everybody forgets. They go into KPIs, they go into viewability, they go into CPAs, they go into all the clicks, everything, but then at the end of the day, they forget the sole reason why they're doing it. And this is incredibly important.
Thanks. Nothing to add, or?
Yeah, actually, I'm sad that I'm the second one to answer this question, because basically he answered what I wanted to say. You have to define your goal. You have to stick to it. You have to not forget and not get in the mud of the first narrow-sighted metrics and KPIs. You have to stick to the end means and don't forget what you're doing and why you are doing that. Because as my colleague said, most of the times when you have a high chain of people, the lower people have their own very small KPIs and they forget the big picture. And then they get lost in the details, and then the end result is worse than what was expected. Yeah, so get your goals straight, and also decide what metrics are the most important for you. Don't try to do everything perfectly, because some metrics are important, some metrics are maybe a hype right now, but they're not that significant to the end result. They're great to have, good to boast, but the end result does not involve into that.
Sure, I will be repeating you guys because you're absolutely right in this sense. So, but I will add also some of my points. So obviously, it is very crucial to set KPIs, the business objectives you want to achieve. This is first one. Second step is you need to measure. You need to measure and you need to implement the measurement already early into the stage. So then you only craft the whatever audience, the strategy, how you're going, to achieve your goals. And if we speak about the performance, there's always one aspect to that we forget, and this is creatives. And now it's recently I came back from one conference, and they said that top advertisers currently invest 11 times more into the creatives than the regular ones, like in average. And it's the number was crazy. Like in average, you invest into 4 advertising pieces, and like the top advertisers invest in like 43 pieces. Yes. So I guess this is also one of the aspects that influences the performance. And of course, they always optimize not towards those proxy metrics. And I think now I will just shoot out a lot of buzzwords, yes, that we use to it, like CTRs, CPC, CPMs. Don't optimize towards these. Let's not achieve, the cheaper click. Also, the lead generation forms. Like if you say that you want to have a test drives, for your company, there's many companies will help you to generate really cheap test drive forms with maybe not really relevant audience. So what I just want to suggest you is always keep the business objective in mind. What you want to do eventually is to do the sales. And then all those intermediately metrics, it helps you to optimize towards those goals.
There's a very important topic that was just touched, creatives. So we speak about performance marketing, right? And we speak about strategies and what sort of a campaign should we create, what approach should we take. But at the end of the day, if we speak about display, the first front line is the creative. The user sees the asset. The user sees what has been done by the creative agency, and the disconnect between the creative and the strategy that's being done is immense. I have not seen any single company at least like none to my knowledge, that would be linking these two things. Obviously, they're a bit more on the complex side. I mean, how are you going to attribute your creatives to your strategies, to your digital strategies, and how are you going to influence one with the other? Usually, this is a topic that's usually left for, say, like the more advanced strategist or whatever, and it's something that needs to be talked about and a lot more often, and I don't feel that this sphere specifically has been addressed enough.
It feels for me that this creative part is usually underestimated, hugely underestimated, because it's like the creatives see the risk that this automation and performance is driving the marketing, but actually the more involvement from creatives is needed for that, definitely, to be attractive every time the client sees the ad, and to offer something uniquely and interesting to engage with the client.
Yeah, and just like Tad, not to just speak like completely random things, but what I mean is say an example, right? A complete example of what I mean with a creative adjustment based on your strategy. You have a banner that has a call to action, some sort of a sign, so like click here. The color is green. You're not getting clicks. You're not getting clicks in that specific location. Change it to red. Add another word. Add click now. Add the fear of missing out, like in the entire, like the whole scope of that. So play around with it. If you only have the possibility, you need to adjust your performance marketing, like the whole concept with it, with the creative side. These two things cannot be separate.
Yeah, and to add to that one, first we have separate our digital marketing advertisement to mainly two parts. One is the discovery, more brand layer to introduce the brand, and second is more conquest as a performance marketing where we are really chasing up the sales. About the leads or test drives, yeah, I know a lot of tricks how to get tons of test drives, and to give some kind of incentive, withdraw something, all that, I can increase the number, and I know it doesn't lead really to increase sale, but as the new car sales process is so long, you need to pick up some kind of KPIs to measure, and what closer you're getting to the sales, then better it is. If you're just measuring click-through rate or something like that, it's better to still to look how many test drives we are getting. But another thing, what we are trying to do in Nissan, what you already told, that we have performed a new, so to say, agency or the work. Before we had a creative agency, then media agency, they worked really in silos. Now we have formed all retargeting, search, social media, all this conquest part of online advertisement. We have combined one cluster where people from ad agency and media agency working together. It is like a one cluster where all the silos are removed, to try to be more effective and really understand how to make it work. Because as I'm working in corporation, there are so many limitations, and I know it's always a problem that, yeah, I would like to do something market specific, something here, something creative, what it work, but the guideline is like that, then one size fits all. I hope with the new system that the people can really understand more individual things and how the performance is affected in the markets. I have a more effective advertising, more effective materials, more effective channels.
Yeah, great topic. And actually, my thoughts are that we need to work without silos, actually, because the ultimate goal of performance marketing is, like Henry mentioned, that I want to know how much it costs to sell a car with our media budget or creative budget. But in the end of the day, there are a lot of parties who are involved in this chain. There are publishers, media agencies, client, creatives, and so on and so forth. But the client wants to pay a certain amount for a sale. Is there any solution for that, that ultimately we will get there, and Henry will come to us and say, I can pay you this amount, and you will sell our Qashqai?
If I can jump into this, first of all, I completely agree with you that all parties need to be involved into strategical decision-making process. So, for example, if you are the consultant at the media agency and you understand the client objectives and the channel that you're working with, whatever it is, bring them on board, explain them what are the KPIs from your side, what are the goals, what are the business objectives that the client needs to bring. Not just to send the order, the plan, you know, they will make the planning. So I think this one. Why I don't believe strongly into this performance approach that you are saying, that there should be a price, a fixed price, and then I don't know, revenue share or something, because it is not going to be sustainable in the long run. Usually publishers will take your order, they will give you this free inventories that they're having currently, but once they will see that you are growing, you will come into the discussion, into the argument that it is actually, it is not sustainable for either of the parts. Either it's going to be for that channel, for the client. They will say, okay, come on, you know, I cannot pay you, I don't know, 100,000 euros per month because, you know,
but if you bring the result,
you're bringing me leads. I cannot, you know. So I think it's not sustainable in the long run.
Yeah, coming from the publisher world, I couldn't agree more that there is a gap of information that publishers receive while thinking about performance. Because usually what happens is that the advertisers talk with the agencies, with the performance media, whatever agency there is, and then the agency simply follows through with the order for the publisher. Usually the publisher, there is a group of media, group of publishing sources. They are independently quite small, therefore there is no point in informing them about the ultimate goal, about the KPIs, and about the process that what's going on. But the publisher then doesn't have all the information that it needs, and he simply works on the information that it has. Okay, maybe I have to generate CTR, maybe I have to bring clicks. That's it, I'm done, I'm final. But those clicks usually don't lead to anything else. So this lack of information is actually bringing to so many troubles, so many problems, that by involving at least bigger publishers that are at least of some significance for the advertiser, bringing them to the table, I think would lead to a much better performance, because everybody would understand what they're talking about and what is the ultimate goal.
Just to quickly add on to that, so there's two things here. There's when we're talking about numbers, again, we have to go back to the whole concept of who's the buyer here, what do they want? And the thing is that it makes complete sense to bring on the publisher side and have like a mutual understanding, to, like what's happening, like with the buyer. But then at the same time, there's also the segment of buyers, say, who do not necessarily want just local inventory. So we have global inventory. You're not going to go to CNN and tell them, come on, let's just have a quick chat here. We have I feel like a 5K campaign running. So that's the problem. Like when you have global campaigns, you need to set up specific APIs, or like if your client is going not just within your market with publishers that are within your reach. So if we're speaking about like say display marketing, so you have fully like direct buying, so that's fully fine, where you have like a direct contact with that publisher. But then again, we go back into global performance marketing, where just because we're even targeting Latvians or Lithuanians, that does not mean that Latvians and Lithuanians only visit local domains. Like just a couple of days ago, I just looked at some stats, and apparently, like solely just through AdForm, I'm not being like all together, but we're seeing in Latvia, since the beginning of the year, only 20% of all of the impressions bought were local. All of the rest we saw were outside of the market. So that's where it comes like, what type of performance are we doing here?
Great statistics.
Sorry, can I just add to that? So as we talked yesterday, there is a lie, there is another lie, and there's the statistics. Because from what statistics I saw, that at least in Lithuania, not Latvia, around 10% of Lithuanian population go to non-Lithuanian websites. So actually, if you want to catch a local person, you have to advertise in local inventory. You can catch that person maybe in, I don't know, New York Times, you know, The Economist and whatever. But the population that visits such sites is such a small number that if you base your global campaign, if you want to reach your local players, you have to personalize and have to have regional strategies. So this is a thing of personalization and scale. If you want to scale, if you have a global client, global buyer, global advertiser, you still cannot do one size fits all. You have to localize, as IKEA does that. So in this case, you also have to think about the local most significant players on the market and at least try to keep them in the loop of the ultimate goal and not the first layer of KPIs.
The stats were...
Okay, so now two Lithuanians talking.
We're opportunistic, what can I say? The stats mentioned were impressions bought, so not essentially where users were mostly like visited. So like that's there's a yeah, but yeah, I mean I fully agree with you. It can never be just say I'm gonna go just entirely focus on global and I don't really care about locals. It depends on your product, obviously, if you're not found in that market, even though you're positioned in it. But the thing is that I fully agree. They need to be involved, but it might not be like just that. Yeah. It's like it's a mix of the two.
Okay, but recently what we saw on our side that some big clients, they're building their own precision marketing entities somewhere in Scandinavia or Europe and basically serving all the ads to the entire world from one place. And that's of course a limitation for our markets to develop because we don't need people here for precision marketing. They have their own in head office and that's all. So do you see any risk here or it's enough for what we have here?
I can also comment on this.
Wake up call.
Almost lost Estonia. You know, if you're bringing in the competence inside, it's always a good idea because you feel that you know your product the best. The problem is that you are so focused just on your narrow field that you don't see, you know, what is outside, what are the trends. And I think for the clients, for the brands to use the agencies as a service who, how to say it, like understand the full ecosystem of, because at the end of the day, it's not just the performance marketing, it's the full funnel, and it's many channels, and it's also attribution. It's how you measure, how you attribute the success into this channel. And I think that if there is a scale, maybe it is a good idea to bring this PPC competence inside. Otherwise, I still would recommend to have a strategic cooperation within agencies, and then for agencies, I would recommend to have a strategic cooperations with the publishers, whether it's whatever, Facebook, is it Adform, is it, you know, AdNet. So in this way, you would generate the better value for the client.
Okay, nothing to add really.
Or what I can add is this is more or less what we are trying to do because now we made this combined agency to Helsinki, and this combined agency is serving 7 countries. One thing what I really hope for is quite a good of business understanding. I don't say that you don't understand our business. I'm also trying to keep you up to date with our big things, but of course you cannot invest just in one small market so much into the one company business. Then somebody can do it if serving several different markets. But on the other hand, yeah, I will see how well they are able to adapt to the exact needs and specified differences between the markets. And it's going to be a learning curve for me and for Nissan. And yeah, hopefully I will be smarter in a few years' time.
So if I can add, actually, one person from Finland contacted us, some specific publishers in Lithuania and actually in Latvia and Estonia about Nissan campaigns, and they were quite surprised when I explained what is the market and what our maybe AdNet's market share is. So what I want to say that in some cases this global agency who can cover 7 countries is a good thing when you want to have scale and maybe performance purely based on numbers. But yet again, if you want to have a good performance, you have to invest into that region. So just that person contacted me personally, and when I explained to him what can we offer, he actually bumped into me by being forwarded from other publishers, and he always bumped into me, and he was quite surprised that he never knew that something like that existed in the Baltics.
My question, we now talk about a lot about digital because our panel participants are from digital, but what's from your side? Of course, it's one side thinking, but about offline media, because performance is usually referred to the digital ones, but how do you see any development and how digital can actually help the offline media to be a performance media?
Really simple answer to that. So previously, in the past, we didn't have a lot of ways to measure anything, really. And now we do. So how offline doesn't have a lot of ways to measure it, now it's going towards that. Like the whole trend is to get more data. As much data as we can, that means that we're going to have possibilities to optimize it. We're going to have more opportunities. So as an example, say what we're doing, what Affirm is doing like in Italy, we have you have the opportunity to buy digital out of home without even contacting anyone, so via programmatic. But and the whole idea, like how things are being measured, so eye tracking is being measured like out of home, facial tracking is measured like GDPR compliant, but so everything is basically moving towards to gather as much data as possible. So like if there is a trend in digital marketing of having the possibility to gain as much data as we can, then at least from what I'm seeing, and I'm wondering on your opinions and what you guys see, it's like offline is going towards that direction to have the possibility to gather as much data as we can.
Yeah, I think a very valid point. It is about the measurement. I think we can now measure like more than we ever could measure, and there's measurement is a huge challenge. It is a challenge. Why? Because it's always changing as well. It's not just that you're collecting the data. The question is, what can you extract out of that data? Is it meaningful? Does it really drives the business decisions? And I think that also like the whole ecosystem is going to face a huge challenge as we're going to have a new cookie regulation. So there's a GDPR regulation is implemented already. You cannot now on a Firefox browser, for example, they're not allowing you the third-party tracking. Yes. So there are many challenges, and still, I guess already industries are learning from digital. I think TV, although it's really hard to distinguish, I think it's already has become digital in a way. So I think yeah, if you have this, if you're measuring the results, business results, you can replicate in a way also to traditional media.
And just to add. A few months ago, I had a discussion with Vadims about the TV and how to measure. And as we know today, people are multi-screening. Usually, who watching TV, they have a mobile phone and perhaps few more screens there. What we can do today is to display our online banners exactly at the same time when we have our ads in the TV and easily measure in what way those TV ads are much more effective, how they are performing, and etc.
Vadims, I'm sorry, we have to move to questions.
Absolutely.
Right.
Let's go for it. Okay, we covered the first one.
This is really a valid point, and I think it's now everyone speaks about diversity and inclusion, and I think you really have to think about it in the future. I'm ready to give up my spot.
Great. How do you explain performance marketing to a 3-year-old?
If you will fix your bed, you will get a candy.
The CPA model, yeah? What's offline role in performance marketing ecosystem? Do you have performance marketing examples in mind on offline media? I think Polios also covered the outdoor, which can be bought in programmatic via programmatic in Eastern Europe. Any other examples?
In UK, you can actually buy cinema time through programmatic, not only digital out of home.
Any examples from our region?
Unfortunately, not yet, because we are lacking in technology in this case. Because the technology to put something into programmatic, which is offline right now, is extremely expensive.
Well, I have example of my own. We are measuring TV spot attribution, basically how the TV influence the visits or actions or any attribution what we want to measure on the website. So that's what we do with offline media.
I can add to this one. I may understand where this question is coming from because, say, I personally, how I discern performance and, say, awareness, right? So awareness is I'm going to hit everybody everywhere, and with performance, I'm going to target those specific people, and then I'm going to just see if I can, like, just regular retargeting or whatever.
Close enough.
Yeah, exactly. And with offline kind of just moves into the whole sphere of awareness, right? So you're trying to drive the interest, and then you're trying to grab those people. So I mean, that's the role from my point of view. Like it fits into that like branding or like brand awareness whole sphere. Like if you take like that, there's just generally 2 spheres in this like in the entire ecosystem.
Okay. Practical question: what performance metric should be used to measure user adoption and acceptance of changes in products? Example, new versions of software.
I think this is a very deep question. It goes beyond the media. It goes already, I think, on the product side. If we obviously this product owner they need to understand how much time whatever users spend on their site, so you can do A/B testing. You know, direct the user to that. I think it's a very broad question.
Do the users still use your product? If yes, you're doing a good job. If no, not really.
We'll jump into the next question. Can performance marketing provide meaningful insights, or is it just another stat to validate popularity of campaign?
I think this is what I started, that you should measure business results. And then just really to use all those proxy metrics as intermediately metrics and really focus on the result. Obviously, you have to have a goal in the mind, whatever you do. So I think it's not a buzzword.
Yeah, I actually agree that this is the biggest problem with performance marketing as a term, that some people just understand or define this performance marketing term as how many clicks did I get? What was the price of my lead to the site? And then forget the ultimate goal that Arnis just said. This is the biggest mistake of understanding performance marketing and doing that, and getting into those details and drowning in them.
And actually, I think the performance marketing give huge insights on what people are clicking, what they are engaging with, and what pictures. Okay, I'll combine the 2 questions. What are trends for 2020, I guess, and what are the latest innovations in performance marketing, like new best KPIs, most innovative platform combo, etc.
So to start off, the first one is, at least I think so, would be attribution. So how do we, I mean, might be still from 2018, might be still from earlier, but I mean, what's being done with it? You're looking at me funny. No, but the thing is, like, I haven't really heard a lot of people and a lot of clients to that extent speak about how do you attribute a campaign's value. Like, so what did this campaign actually do to drive my sales or whatever? Like, it does depend on the level of expertise that a client has, that if the client is using an agency, if the agency has, but I feel like this it should, globally, this is kind of old, but in the Baltics, so maybe I should like, clarify myself, like in the Baltics, this, like, at least that's my idea. And the new best KPI, sales maybe. I'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah, it's your business result, obviously. But if I can add 2 points about you know, where you should be focusing on if you are running the campaigns. First, and this is really big, don't optimize towards the likes and shares. Yes, and still a lot of advertisers do it. You know, optimize towards your business goals. And the second thing is, let's say if you take whatever, any RTB channel, real-time bidding channel, so the optimization works whether you are playing with like a target audience, then you're playing with the bids, and the third thing is the creatives. And please, really, it is my wish that the whole industry understands how important is creatives on performance campaigns.
A question to Adform. Are you ready for death of cookies?
Yes. We're doing things. No, it's like not stepping over my head here, but it's basically just new IDs, and I can't really disclose too much on it, but essentially it's just a new cookie.
Measuring is nothing new, so it's just another buzzword. Can you name some innovative approaches that will shape the future of marketing performance metrics? I think Paulius also touched it with attribution, and I think multi-touch attribution is also one of the topics that is like coming up, and we start to think about not about last click, but
attribution. It is exactly. It is where do you assign a credit to which channel you assign a credit, and in which extent. Is it you're giving 100% credit because Google search brought you the customer, or you still think that Delphi or AdNet or Facebook was involved into this demand generation? Yes. So attribution is nothing new. What I measurement, obviously it is nothing you know, specific, but what my suggestion is, go beyond those proxy metrics, CPC, CTRs, the clicks, you know, the time spent. Yeah? Go optimize towards the results, the visits into the store, on a branding side, the brand lift, on a conversion side, conversion lift. So go beyond, optimize towards the business results.
One thing that we've already discussed this is integrating your performance approach with the creative side. So getting rid of those silos. And that is my hope that that's going to happen sooner rather than later, and it's going to be discussed a lot more often.
the question to Gediminas. Really only 10% of Lithuanians visiting foreign resources. You want to say 10% together for Google, Facebook, YouTube, etc.
No, I want to say 10% excluding Google, Facebook, YouTube, and those other social networks, Instagram, whatever. I was talking about 10% of other domains that are not Google, Facebook, YouTube. I mean, The Economist, I don't know, the Finnish Delphi, the Italian classified ads, and whatever. It's excluding Google, Facebook, YouTube, and etc. because it's extremely hard to calculate what is the number of the audience that goes to, like Google and Facebook.
Okay, we have a long question. Walled gardens have advantage in terms of identifying users and assign performance towards themselves. The market is moving from local media without noticing that it brings similar or better value. How shall market act?
Yeah, this is a great question, and unfortunately the time is coming to an end. Yeah, so please find me and we can have a greater discussion about that because it's a really interesting topic and it cannot be covered like in 2 minutes.
Thank you very much.